Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving It Up Live right here on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitter. I'm Bryson Carver. Got a great show for y'all tonight. Lots to talk about. Cam Newton just got released. Okay, going to get into that in just a second. All the details that go into it because it is as layered a story as you'll see in sports and certainly in the National Football League and certainly with the New England Patriots. Also talk about Ben Simmons. Now, Ben Simmons has alerted the 76ers he wants out of Philadelphia. Well, I've got a lot to say about that. You best not miss that topic as well. Tennessee, I've got my Tennessee t-shirt live on Carving It Up. I'm going to predict the football schedule. I'm not excited about it, but I kind of feel obligated to do it since it's my team. Whatever. Also, Kevin Durant seems to think that Kyrie Irving, his current teammate, is more skilled than Steph Curry, his old teammate. I've got a lot to say about that and why KD and Mike James, the guy who started this whole mess, is dead wrong. Going to get into that later in the show, as well as Asante Samuel, former Patriot, ripping Bill Belichick. I'll tell you why he is right. But first, Cam Newton, released Tuesday morning by the New England Patriots. Okay, so the highest profile quarterback battle in the NFL, without a question, is over. Mac Jones is the starter. Cam Newton is not only not the backup, he's looking for a new team. Now, we can debate on as to whether Cam would be a good fit in Houston, or I've heard the backup to Dak in Dallas. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Maybe Washington, certain other teams that might kick the tires, at least, with Cam Newton. But what we do know is this, and there is no question, Cam Newton is the reason Cam Newton got released. It is that simple. Last Monday, I said when the news that Cam was on the COVID list for being a close contact, I said this might have been what the little bit of separation between Cam Newton and Mac Jones as to who gets the starting job. Because both played great in the preseason. I mean, listen, Cam played great. I thought Cam played better. I said on this show, I think Cam should be the starter week one. But Mac Jones played excellent as well. And y'all know I'm not a Mac Jones guy, but I can't lie on what I saw. He played excellent. Okay? But what I said on last Monday, when Cam was on the COVID list, I said, okay, this is huge because now Mac Jones gets 3 days of Bill Belichick, Josh McDaniels, and the first team offense all to himself. It's all his. And he took advantage of that. So much so that after a joint practice against the New York Giants, Bill Belichick reportedly went over to Mac Jones, who was down on one knee after practice, kind of getting his breath. Bill Belichick gave him a high five. Did he ever give Tom Brady a high five in 20 years? Sure, maybe he did, but it wasn't exactly common. And so Belichick had a quote also afterwards talking about how Mac does it our way. Our way. Okay? So the coaches obviously like Mac better than Cam, but Cam was going to be the week one starter. He was. He played better in the preseason. He knows the system better than Mac Jones. He's going to be the starter. Until he put himself in the position to not be with the New England Patriots for at least 3 days of training camp, including crucial joint practice with the New York Giants. Because Cam Newton, simply put, regardless of what Belichick tries to tell you, and there's some flawed stuff with what he said, Cam Newton did not make the team because he did not get vaccinated. A source inside of New England on Tuesday said that was the final straw. That is exactly, by the way, that's exactly what I said. I said final straw last Monday. That might be it for Cam. Final straw. That's exactly what a source inside of New England said about this whole situation. Okay, so, and by the way, look at the Minnesota Vikings right now. Okay, Kirk Cousins, I'm not getting the vaccine. Mike Zimmer has been openly critical of his own starting quarterback. The Colts are reportedly frustrated with Carson Wentz and where he is on that. The Ravens are reportedly concerned and frustrated with Lamar Jackson, who contracted COVID twice now. And so with Cam Newton, it's you got COVID last year, but you know what? A lot of guys got COVID. You know, there wasn't a vaccine. Now, there's an option. And in the words of Jerry Jones, it is a matter of personal choice until it affects other people, until it affects us winning games. What did we talk about? I talked about this a month and a half ago. What Michael Irvin said when this whole vaccine debate started in the NFL. Michael Irvin was talking about the Dallas Cowboys. He said somebody in that locker room has got to stand up and say, it's going to be harder to win a championship if we don't reach the 85% mark. Because the NFL's rules is if you get to the 85% mark on vaccinated players, restrictions are eased off. It's not as much like 2020 where there was just restrictions all over the place, right? To keep players and coaches and staff members safe. Now there's an option. And Cam Newton had that option. And Mac Jones had that option. The difference is Mac Jones took the option. Mac Jones took being the starting quarterback of the New England Patriots seriously. He took being the franchise guy seriously. He was going to do whatever he could in his power to win this starting job. Cam Newton was not. It is plain and simple. Cam Newton was not. But it's a violation of my civil rights. I heard that the other day. Yeah. Well, you know, listen, I'm of driving age, obviously now. I'm 18. I can go out and drive and not have a seatbelt on. It's my right. I can technically do it, but the cops can also pull me over and give me a ticket. Because that's the law. That's the rule. They have more power than me. Okay. So that's how it works. All right. And so listen, don't go to your, don't go to Larry Bob on Facebook, okay, for your medical advice. So you don't go to politicians on either side for that matter. They both dropped the ball with this pandemic for the record. But I don't go to my politicians for COVID advice. I go to epidemiologists. Okay, I don't go to my mechanic for a root canal. Okay, that's just not how it works. Let's use common sense here. And just another number right here, because Belichick said yesterday, he was adamant that Cam Newton getting cut had nothing to do with him not getting vaccinated. And Belichick said players who have gotten the vaccine have gotten COVID too. And Bill Belichick is right about that. That is a fact. However, I saw this on ABC News the other day. Read this article. From August 1st to August 21st, 68 players and staff members tested positive for COVID-19. You know how many of those people were not vaccinated of the 68? 59. 86% of those who contracted COVID in the NFL from August 1st to August 21st were not vaccinated. Okay, that's the numbers. I always say numbers without context are empty. They're just numbers. You give them context, there you go. So no, Belichick is wrong. By the way, what did Urban Meyer say the other day? They asked him, does cutting players have anything to do with their vaccination status? And pretty bluntly, Urban Meyer said, yeah, it kind of does. It kind of does. By the way, who's the one team you don't hear any drama about vaccines? The defending champions, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bruce Arians said today the team is 100% vaccinated because they want to win a Super Bowl. They don't want to have any distractions. They don't want to have any of this. None of it. That's just how it works in the NFL. Say, I'm willing to do everything I can for the team, for the good of the team. Were you Cam Newton? Kirk Cousins, Lamar Jackson, Carson Wentz? Are you willing to do anything for the good of the team? Or is that just a bunch of empty nonsense at press conferences and whatnot? Let's be objective here. Cam Newton got released, not because he can't play. Cam can play. Are you kidding me? Cam's one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the league. Nobody's debating that. He can still run. Accuracy has always been an issue, but that's even when he was an MVP, he wasn't crazy accurate. He knows the system. He played excellent in the preseason. Why else would he have gotten cut? Because if Mac Jones was better than him, Cam just be the backup. He's better than Brian Hoyer. Everybody knows that. There you go. So, why did Cam Newton get released? Why is Cam Newton a free agent? Cam Newton. That's why. It's his fault, not the Patriots. And for that matter, not Mac Jones. Mac Jones didn't just absolutely dominate, clearly play better than Cam Newton. He played well. I'm not denying. I'm not trying to poo-poo on Mac Jones. He absolutely played well. He wasn't head and shoulders above Cam Newton. Matter of fact, I thought Cam was better than Mac. But Mac Jones was willing to put team over self. By the way, I mean, getting vaccinated actually helps yourself more than it helps anybody, believe it or not. But it's on Cam. And this could be something for the other quarterbacks I mentioned, Lamar, Wentz, Kirk Cousins, none of whom really have solid backups. I mean, Indianapolis, yeah, Jacob Eason, and of course, I think Sam Ehlinger just recently got hurt. So Jacob Eason's the backup in Indianapolis. I don't feel that confident going into the game if he's got to start in Carson Wentz's absence. Trace McSorley in Baltimore, good college quarterback, really isn't someone you'd really rely on in the NFL. And then Kirk Cousins, who's the kid? Oh my goodness, Kellen Mond. Kellen Mond is Kirk Cousins' backup. He's a rookie. He's not playing an NFL snap yet. I don't want to just throw him out there. So this could become an issue. Players have expressed frustration. Coaches absolutely have expressed frustration. But again, the one team you've not heard any drama with any of this about, the Super Bowl champs. They're actually, what I hear Mark Jackson, the head coach of the NBA, former head coach of the NBA, great point guard, he always says, don't talk about it, be about it. The Buccaneers are being about it. Cam Newton was not. Other players in this league, Cole Beasley, are not. That's just how it is. All right, Ben Simmons. It is official. He has told the Philadelphia 76ers he wants out. We'd heard rumblings about this for a few weeks now. He cut off all communication to teammates, coaches, the organization in general. He wants out. And you know me, Ben Simmons is the ultimate GOAT on the show, and certainly not that GOAT, not the greatest of all time GOAT, the other GOAT. Because we're talking about a man who has every God-given basketball ability you could ask for, except shooting. All right. He's an excellent rebounder. He's a great playmaking point guard. He's 6'11". How many 6'11" point guards you see? He's long. He was a finals for Defensive Player of the Year, and for good reason. Dude can lock you up. But it is a shooter's league. I've said for the last few weeks, Duncan Robinson does nothing well. Does nothing well in the NBA. Except shoot. Yeah, he just got a $90 million contract because it is a shooter's league now. Steph Curry changed that. I'm going to get into Steph and Kyrie later in the show. But Ben Simmons came into the league, couldn't shoot. He can improve on that. I always use the Lonzo Ball analogy. Lonzo Ball is had the ugliest looking jump shot I've ever seen by a guard in my life coming into the league. He's changed his jump shot. Last year, he shot 38% from three. That's really good. Ben Simmons has not improved one iota. And what's probably worse, he refuses to shoot threes. He just doesn't take them. Okay. So Ben Simmons has been the ultimate laughingstock on this show because I'm like, you've got everything and you refuse to shoot and you refuse to get better at the biggest hole in your game. But as far as the Philadelphia 76ers, they bear some blame for this as well. And I'll tell you why. Not for what Ben Simmons does or doesn't do on the court. Not that. That is totally 100% Ben Simmons, and I've been the first to say that. But to me, they lost all leverage. The nail in the coffin was put in when Doc Rivers said this after their Game 7 loss against the Atlanta Hawks.
Doc, do you think Ben Simmons can still be a point guard for a championship team like the one you guys want to become?
Yeah, David, I don't know that question or the answer to that right now. So I don't know the answer to that.
That was it. When Doc Rivers said, I don't know, that's it. Because now, when teams call the 76ers, it's going to be a whole different negotiation ballgame. It is not going to be Philadelphia asking what they can get for Ben Simmons. It's the other way around. We're going to need more than just Ben Simmons. And we're not giving up much because we see what you think about him. Heck, you've been around him. Not Daryl Morey and not Doc Rivers necessarily, but the organization in general, Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid said after Game 7, a reporter asked him, what was the turning point in the game? And he said, I don't really know how to say this, but when we passed up a wide open dunk, which Ben Simmons passed up a wide open dunk in the fourth quarter of Game 7, passed it to Matisse Thybulle, and he hit one free throw. He said that was the turning point in the game. So when teammates and coaches are not speaking highly of Ben Simmons, nor do they have reason to, but openly kind of dissing him, they've lost all leverage. So this is a lose-lose for Philadelphia. Because if Ben Simmons comes back, it's going to be the same story. You'll be a top 2, top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. Embiid will have a great year. Ben Simmons is probably going to make another All-Star game. And you're going to get to the playoffs. You'll win your first round series quite easily. You'll get to the second round and you'll fall short and disappoint yet again. It's been the same story for the last 4 years. 2017, loss of a second round. Or 2018, the loss of a second round. 2019, loss of a second round. 2020, lost the first round. This year, lost in the second round. It doesn't work. Okay? Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, it doesn't work. And my main point about this is the championship contending teams. Who's calling Philadelphia? The Lakers aren't calling the Sixers. I've got a lot of criticisms of that old senior citizen home Lakers roster, but they're not calling Philadelphia. I'd take Russell. I've got a lot of criticisms of Westbrook. I'd take Westbrook over Ben Simmons as a heartbeat because my criticisms of Westbrook is he plays too hard sometimes. He needs to reel it back in, slow it down a little bit. Whereas Ben Simmons, it's like, dude, wake up. Could you care about the game a little bit? Could you not be, as my man Grady Edwards, who comments frequently on the show, as he said, the NBA Jay Cutler? Could you care a little? Okay, what about the Phoenix Suns? Phoenix is not calling because if Phoenix would probably have to give up one of their 3. Now, they're not giving up Chris Paul or Devin Booker and Ayton because, that wouldn't work on either end. So, I don't know, Bridges, they really like Bridges. They really like him. By the way, he was actually ironically drafted by the 76ers, so there's that little tidbit. But Phoenix is not calling the Sixers. Golden State, I know the Golden State right now in Vegas, they're the betting favorites to land Ben Simmons. Now, obviously, that's darn near giving me a heart attack as a Warriors fan. That is, It's been tough. I try to stay away from that as much as possible because Vegas knows what they're doing, so that's why it scares me. But obviously, Steph is untouchable. They're not giving up Clay. People say, Draymond. Why on earth would they give up Draymond? Because people say, oh, Ben Simmons is a more athletic Draymond Green. Yeah, that's about it. Basketball IQ, Draymond. Rebounding, Draymond. Defense, Draymond. Playmaking for Steph, chemistry, Draymond. Can occasionally knock down a three, Draymond. Plays big in the playoffs, Draymond. I mean, we keep going with this. Yes, Draymond isn't as athletic as Ben Simmons. Since when did athleticism alone, make you a great player or a championship level player? It doesn't. Never has. Just athleticism alone doesn't. So Andrew Wiggins. Okay, Wiggins and Simmons have very similar contracts. So you say maybe that would work. I'd take Wiggins in a heartbeat. Yeah, Ben's more talented. But Andrew Wiggins is a better shooter, better playmaker for himself. Is he a better defensive player? No. But he's a darn good one. For 3.5 quarters against the Lakers in the play-in game, shut down LeBron. That's LeBron James. And Andrew Wiggins played outstanding defense on him, and he gets wings all season long. Moves his feet well. He's quick. So he's not the defensive player Simmons is, but he's darn good. He's all defense this year, if I'm not mistaken. Average career high in blocks. And you don't have to worry about taking Andrew Wiggins off the floor in the last 5 minutes of a game because you can trust him. When the money's on the line, you can trust him to hit a big three. You can, or a big shot, or to create his own shot. You can't do that with Ben Simmons. It's just going to be clogged lane. It's going to be tougher for Steph and Clay to get open, coming off screens, moving without the basketball. And in no universe would I trade James Wiseman because I think that kid is going to be special. Remember, he didn't have the greatest rookie season last year. He's 19. He's 7 foot and he's 19 years old. Okay, he's got to grow into his body. He's got to grow into his man body in the NBA. That'll take time, but I think he's going to be an excellent player. I said during the draft last year, I wanted Golden State to take Wiseman. They did, and I think they absolutely made the right pick. Give the kid time. Let's look at other contenders. Brooklyn, heck no. They're not trading anybody for Ben Simmons. KD, Kyrie, Harden, none of those guys are going. Even my problems with Kyrie, I'd take him in a heartbeat over Ben Simmons. Because reliability is an issue with both guys, but for different reasons. Ben Simmons because he doesn't care. Kyrie because you never know where he is mentally. But when Kyrie is on the floor, it is showtime, man. It is must-see TV, must-see NBA basketball. Not the case all the time with Ben Simmons. Okay, let's think about the Bucks. Bucks aren't going to do anything to disrupt what they already have. They just won the championship. They brought pretty much everybody outside of PJ Tucker back. They're going to try and run it back once again. Okay, so when we start looking at the contenders, Utah, why would Utah do that? I mean, I've said I think the Jazz need to trade Rudy Gobert to see if they can get Donovan Mitchell a second star. But you lose your rim protection. You're getting basically the same guy, but shorter. And as a bad free throw shooter, just like Gobert, you're getting the same player, but shorter. And you lose rim protection. So that wouldn't make sense. Denver's not going to mess up what they have with that young core. Jokic is already their playmaker. They've got Jamal Murray and they've got Michael Porter Jr., guys that can create their own shots. They don't need Ben Simmons. So the championship contending teams, nobody's going to make that deal. Do they make a deal with Portland for Damian Lillard? I mean, I know Portland knows in their head that once they do eventually have to trade Dame, because they know it's inevitable, it's coming, they know they're not going to get anything equal to Dame. But at least get something to get the fans a little excited. Give them a reason to come to the arena in the Pacific Northwest. Sacramento, why would I trade De'Aaron Fox? Quicker, better shooter, better ball handler. So that's what I'm saying. That there is Now, if you could trick this, in Sacramento's a bad organization, so maybe Philadelphia, Daryl Morey, who's a good general manager, maybe he could fool him a little bit, right? Maybe he could get a De'Aaron Fox and Buddy Hield for Ben Simmons, and it's reported Tyrese Maxey would be included in any deal that the Sixers would have to make for to get rid of Ben Simmons. I'm just saying. That would be an interesting one. Because the Kings, they might be thinking in their head, we're already not going anywhere. We might as well see if we can maybe fix Ben Simmons' career, which I don't think they can. It's Sacramento. But maybe they'll kick the tires on it and see if they can make it happen. But of the contending teams, I promise you, none of them are interested. Because they watch the playoffs. What bothers me is Philadelphia acts like we just didn't see what happened in the postseason. We saw what happened against Atlanta. We've seen what's happened in the playoffs time and time again with this guy. It's the same darn story. Refuses to shoot. You got to take him out late in games. His own head coach is not even sure. In the clip we just played a couple minutes ago, he's not even sure if he can be the starting point guard in a championship team. Usually a coach goes to bat for his players if he knows his players are coachable and care about the game. Well, Ben Simmons is really neither, and Doc Rivers knows that. So I am real interested to see how this plays out. Because to me, it is a lose-lose unless the Sixers were to make a deal with the Kings and somehow get the backcourt in Sacramento there. De'Aaron Fox and Buddy Hield. If so, then Philadelphia is dangerous. Like, there is as much a threat to come out the East as Brooklyn. But that's a conversation we'll have to save for, I guess, whenever Ben Simmons gets traded, wherever he gets traded. But Sixers lost their leverage, and the player they are looking to deal at this point, I don't want to go so far as to say a lost cause, because he has made 3 straight All-Star games, but he is not the piece for a championship team. It's just, we've seen it. He's not that dude. Okay. My least favorite topic on the show today. Okay, so college football, a lot of really good games tonight. Like some really good games tonight. Okay, Boise State plays tonight. Boise State plays. I'm trying to pull this up here. No, I think I lost it. But Ohio State plays tonight. Ohio State plays Minnesota. That's an interesting game, right? You got Coastal Carolina, who's ranked, had a really good year last year. Some cuckoo birds out there thought they should have made the playoff last year. I think that's utterly absurd. Utah plays Weber State. That's interesting. By the way, speaking of Damian Lillard played at Weber State, so that's interesting. By the way, the Ohio State game kicks off at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on Fox. Definitely will want to keep my eye on that one. And also, to kick off SEC football season, they're not starting with Alabama or Florida or Georgia or Auburn or LSU or Ole Miss or any of those teams. They're starting with Tennessee. And Tennessee plays Bowling Green tonight. 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on the SEC network. And those that know the show and watch the show know that I'm a depressed Vols fan for numerous reasons. Can't find the right coach because no good coach would be so stupid as to come over to Knoxville. Our recruiting has been pretty good, but coaching doesn't know how to develop the talent. And the fans think we should win a national championship every year. You'll hear those rants throughout the season. Don't worry. Let's get this over with. Put the schedule up. Screw it. Just put the schedule up for the Tennessee Volunteers. Is it pulling up? There we go. So, Tennessee Vols kick off tonight. Bowling Green. As of right now in Vegas, they are favored -37. For all you Vegas guys out there, I would not touch this bet in a million years. As we all know, this is not a team you can trust whatsoever. Bowling Green may score a couple garbage time touchdowns at the end. I mean, they're saying Tennessee is basically a 5-touchdown favorite. I do not believe in my team that much. I think that is absolutely ridiculous. There's no way you make that bet if you're in Las Vegas or if you're a betting man in general. But I will take Tennessee to win, go 1-0. There you go. They play Bowling Green. They play Pittsburgh in week 2. Now that's a big game for Tennessee because this is a big one as far as keeping them alive to make a bowl game. It's at home. It's a noon kickoff next Saturday on ESPN. I will take Tennessee to win narrowly. I'll go around 26-23. It's a field goal game. They survived Pittsburgh, but that is no easy game for Tennessee. But they're 2-0. They go to 3-0 after an easy win against Tennessee Tech the following week. And then this is where the fit hits the shan. This is where it gets ugly. They go to Florida in week 4. They get crushed at the Swamp. They play at Missouri. Missouri is a very well-coached team. I love the moves they made. Decent recruiting team. They'll get beat by Missouri on the road, drop to 3-2. They play South Carolina at home. I think that is a win. South Carolina's kind of a mess right now. They go to 4-2. They go, once again, to play Ole Miss at home in Knoxville at Neyland Stadium. Ole Miss is a team. I'm going to go ahead and make a big prediction right now. Ole Miss is going to finish 3rd in the SEC West. And while that, for those of you non-SEC fans, that may not sound like a huge deal, but it is. Alabama is the class of that division, no question about it, right? Alabama is going to win the division. They're going to win the conference. Texas A&M is going to finish 2nd. Texas A&M barely missed the playoff last year. The recruiting, once again, excellent. We all know how great of a coach Jimbo Fisher is. But then after that, I think LSU is being extremely overhyped right now. I honestly think this is Ed Orgeron's last year. Sorry for those in the Bayou. Ed Orgeron is gone out of LSU after this season is my prediction. And Auburn, new coaching staff. I don't know what I'm going to get. Lane Kiffin, excellent recruiter, excellent offensive mind. The defense will be better. Ole Miss is going to be a force to be reckoned with. They're going to crush Tennessee at Neyland Stadium, and the Vols will drop to 4-3. And then we get our annual Alabama you-know-what whooping on the 3rd Saturday of October. No, my bad. It's the 4th Saturday of October. The rivalry, for those of you that don't know, between Bama and Tennessee is called the 3rd Saturday in October because it is usually played on the 3rd Saturday in October. But I guess the schedule makers decided this is not a rivalry. Alabama has won 14 straight against Tennessee. This is no rivalry. This is not even a game that you should probably spend much time to watch unless you're an Alabama-Tennessee fan. Tennessee will get absolutely hammered and drop to 4-4. They get a bye week. They play Kentucky at the road. I'm going to give Tennessee a win because Tennessee normally plays Kentucky better on the road than they do at home for whatever reason. Seems like that's always the case. They beat Kentucky on the road to go to 5-4. They get crushed by Georgia, who I think is going to be a college football playoff team. Yes, I said it. Georgia's in the top 4. They will destroy Tennessee at Neyland Stadium, and the Vols will win against Southern Alabama and against Vanderbilt, their last 2 games of the season, to finish 7-5. Am I overhyping my team? Maybe. But at this point, with this pathetic of a program, I'll take it. I'll take 7-5. As long as, and this in itself might be unrealistic. If the fans could just treat this as it's a transition year, no issues. I think Josh Heupel is a better coach than Jeremy Pruitt. I did not like, as God is my witness, I did not like the Jeremy Pruitt hire from the beginning back in 2017. I said it's a bad move. He's really being overhyped as a Nick Saban, a disciple, if you will. He's trying to recreate Alabama at Tennessee, and he got busted for recruiting violation 3 years in. Tennessee sure knows how to hire coaches, don't they? Sure knows how to hire coaches. John says, let's go Notre Dame. Notre Dame is going to be an interesting team this year because it seemed like they're always a 10-win team, always. But right now in the playoff, this is my gut feeling, John. In the playoff right now, I've got Alabama 1. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. I think Oklahoma gets in as a 2. I think Spencer Rattler is going to have a Heisman Trophy winning year. You say, well, that's not that much of a hot take, Bryson. Yeah, you're right, but Lincoln Riley has had 2 quarterbacks win the Heisman in the last 5 years, Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray. And Jalen Hurts was in the discussion the following year as well. Lincoln Riley is the quarterback whisperer. Oklahoma gets in as the 2 seed in the college football playoff. I then think Clemson gets in. I like their young quarterback. I'm going to have to learn how to say his name. It's not as tough as, or actually it's tougher than Tagovailoa or Antetokounmpo or Roethlisberger. It's a long one. It's a tough one. I'm going to have to learn how to say his name, but I think he's a heck of a player. And if you're going to replace Trevor Lawrence, that's a good guy to go with. I think his first name's DJ. So at least I got that part right. But Clemson, one of the best college football programs over the last decade. Dabo Swinney is an excellent head coach. They will absolutely be in the playoff again. They'll blow through the ACC. And then I think the 4th team, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, I think it's going to be Georgia. I really do. JT Daniels is an upgraded quarterback from what they had last year. You know, I said last year in the SEC East, I said it was Florida's division to lose. Not because I didn't like Georgia. I think Georgia was a very talented football team. But I didn't trust who they had at quarterback. They had like a walk-on or something. Well, now they got JT Daniels, transfer from USC, good young quarterback. They'll get in the playoff. They will get in the playoff. Arguably, even as a 2-loss team. I don't think Ohio State makes it this year. People don't know this about Ohio State. I heard this on the radio today. Ohio State's quarterback room, think about this. The quarterbacks they have on the roster, none of them have ever thrown a pass in a college football regular season game. Ever. That's mind-blowing. It's crazy. I'm not saying Ohio State isn't going to be good. They're probably going to win 10, 11 games again. Win the Big Ten. But I think I would take Georgia at 2 losses because I think I know who the 2 losses will be to. Clemson, Alabama in the SEC championship game. I would still take Georgia to get in over Ohio State. And again, it does depend on how Georgia loses those games. But that's just kind of my gut feeling about it. But this is going to be an excellent college football season. I mean, looking at some of the games opening weekend, they're amazing. I mean, you know, Friday, North Carolina plays Virginia Tech. North Carolina has a team. Their quarterback is one who's being touted as one of the top QBs in next year's NFL draft. So that'll be interesting to watch. Mac Brown has done we all know how great of a coach he was back at Texas, and he's done an excellent job in recruiting at North Carolina, and his players love him. And, you know, he's an excellent coach. Okay, you know, Penn State, Wisconsin, great Big Ten matchup right off the bat. Right off the bat on Fox at noon Eastern. Alabama, Miami, I think is kind of an overhyped matchup. I think Miami will be good. But people saying, oh, the U is back. It ain't back, and it darn sure is not back against Alabama. Alabama's going to wipe them out, I'll say 45-17. It's not even going to be close. I don't even think there's any chance that Alabama doesn't cover. The line right now is 19.5. Alabama's going to cover and then some. You've got Indiana and Iowa. That's an interesting game. 2 ranked teams. Louisiana and Texas. Listen, Louisiana's ranked. They're only 2 spots below Texas. Texas is ranked 21st. Louisiana's ranked 23rd. The Raging Cajuns. That's not going to be an easy game for Texas on Saturday on Fox. Then obviously you got LSU, UCLA. I'm definitely going to watch that. Chip Kelly, probably his best team he's had at UCLA. I think LSU is being overhyped this year, like they were last year. And then obviously the game of the week is Georgia and Clemson. There's no doubt about it. Georgia and Clemson is the game. I mean, Georgia's ranked 5th. Clemson's ranked 3rd. Kickoff is on ABC at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. I'll probably pick that game tomorrow on my show. I'm gonna save that some of the college football picks on my show tomorrow, but that'll be huge in the college football playoff rankings when they do it 3 months from now, going into the new year. So that'll be really interesting. John Rivera said, Alabama are always a beast. It's the greatest coach ever. Man, what can you say? I actually genuinely lost track of how many rings he won. Is it 7? He's won 1 at LSU. He won 2 at Alabama. He won 3 of his first 4 championships at Alabama, in 3 in the first 4 years. That's 4. One in 15, 17, and 20. So that's 8 rings, right? Am I doing that right? That's 7. That's 7 rings, yeah. 7 rings, man. So Nick Saban's going for the Tom Brady. He's going for 8 rings too. So that'll be really interesting. Okay, suspending college football talk for now. Thank God I've got my Tennessee prediction out of the way. I did it only because it's my show. It's my team. I just had to get it out of the way. Jeez. Okay, back on track. So, really interesting story here. Kevin Durant always gets in the news on social media, doesn't he? I love Kevin Durant. Yeah, y'all know, until Giannis won the championship, I said KD was the best player in the world. I said that, and I believed it. And today I think he's 2. He's the most unstoppable offensive player this league has ever seen. But that's another conversation for another show. But you can never say about KD, he ain't in the news quite often for social media. But this is the second time in the last 5 months that he's taken a shot at a former teammate, and that former teammate happens to be Steph Curry. Why Steph? Well, I don't know. How did he take a shot at him this time, though? Because I'm going to put up the graphic right now. You can see it here. Mike James responded to a tweet about the best of the best, the Mount Rushmore of basketball. And he tweeted, he said, I can't lie to y'all, Kyrie Irving probably deserves to be on this list too. James got an argument too. James Harden. Talking about the Mount Rushmore, the most skilled basketball players ever. For those of you that are listening, the Mount Rushmore is LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant. I probably agree with that list. But Mike James, a former Brooklyn Net, says that Kyrie deserves to be on that. And somebody commented, or responded, on Twitter, so you're going to argue for Kyrie but not Steph? Oh, that's right, you never play with Steph. You are the definition of biased. Mike James responded to this guy. He said that Kyrie more skilled than Steph. Steph just shoot better. Everything is in Kyrie's favor skill-wise, but whatever you say, fam. As you can see down there, KD liked the post. Okay? So, I think the skilled argument's really interesting. Because I've said on this show, of the 5 players I would pay money right now to see, Kyrie's on that list. Current players. I go LeBron, in no particular order. LeBron, Steph, Kyrie, Giannis, and Russell Westbrook. Kevin Durant. Sorry, Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, LeBron, Steph, Kyrie, Giannis. Those 5 I would pay money right now to go see. They are must-see TV. It's the most interesting guys that the NBA has. And I've also said on the show that Kyrie Irving's the greatest ball handler the game has ever seen. You can give me Steph. You can give me Iverson. You can give me anybody. This dude has the ball on a string. I mean, it is ridiculous to watch. It is insane. He is gifted with the basketball. More skilled than Steph Curry? Really? More skilled. Steph's just a better shooter. Yet not only is he a better shooter, he's the greatest shooter of all time. And nobody really debates it. He's going to break Ray Allen's record this year before he even turns 34 for most threes in NBA history. Can shoot the ball from anywhere. Now, Kyrie is a good three-point shooter. I'm not even going to lie. He shot 40% last year. Matter of fact, overall, he shot 50, 40, 90. Kyrie can shoot. He cannot shoot the way Steph Curry can. Passing the ball, please. You see some of those behind-the-back, no-look passes that Steph Curry makes? It's insane. I don't ever see those highlight plays from Kyrie passing the basketball. Better rebounder? It's Steph. He's a better rebounder than Kyrie Irving. Better defensive player? Neither's great. Steph is better. Like, it really is that simple. Just because Kyrie hit that game-winning shot in the finals in Game 7 against Steph, and it was one of the clutchest shots in league history. One shot does not make one dude better than another. It just doesn't. That alone does not make you better. So more skilled, please. Plus, the debate is to, even who's better. It's not even close. Kyrie's never won an MVP. Steph's won 2. One of them was unanimous. Kyrie as the man. How's that worked? His first 3 years in the NBA, he was the man in Cleveland before LeBron came back. Yeah, he put up numbers, made all-star games, breaking a lot of dudes' ankles. Cavs never sniffed the playoffs. And so it's 3 years. They get to the finals because LeBron came back. He leaves to go to Boston because now I'm the man. I'm that dude. Yeah, Boston, after he got hurt, when Kyrie's first year in Boston, he got hurt, had a season-ending injury in March. The Celtics got to the Eastern Conference Finals. Mind you, Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals without him. They were a win away from the NBA Finals without Kyrie Irving. He comes back, they get bounced in the second round, embarrassingly, by the Milwaukee Bucks. Not that it was embarrassing that Milwaukee beat them. I'm saying Milwaukee clobbered them. And so Kyrie left, goes to Brooklyn. Now, obviously, James Harden was still a Rocket back then, and KD was still rehabbing an Achilles injury. So Kyrie, once again, was the man. The Nets had a better winning percentage without Kyrie than with him. So it's, on the other end, Steph, last year, no Klay Thompson. The minutes that Steph Curry was not on the floor, the Golden State Warriors had the seventh worst offense in NBA history. So give me valued, give me skill, give me accomplished. Steph checks all the boxes. So Mike James, you're tripping. You're tripping. And KD liking the post. Remember 5 months ago that I say this is the second time because 5 months ago, some guy on Twitter was talking about, oh, Steph's overrated and yada, yada, yada. And KD liked the tweets. Now, once people noticed he liked the tweets, he went back and didn't like them, but, it was too late at that point. But I don't get, here's my issue with KD. I'm not mad at him for taking up for his teammate. He should. But this isn't really a situation to take up for your teammate. The guy in that comment there wasn't dissing Kyrie. He was actually dissing Mike James. He said, oh, dude, you're biased. He didn't really take a shot at Kyrie. That's a situation where KD just needs to stay out of it because he doesn't win either way. If he takes Steph's side, oh, he's anti-Kyrie. If he takes Kyrie's side, oh, he didn't like Steph. I mean, Steph is the guy who back in 2016 could have said no to KD. Could have said, I'm the man. I'm the MVP. Instead, Steph, like any smart individual would do, he said, come on, you're better than me. I recognize you're better than me. Let's go win some championships. Because I know at the end of the day, there's a lot of great players who have had great stats and great numbers and great all that. But we all know legacies are defined more than anything by rings. The production's got to be there as well. But nobody says a darn word. Nobody knows who Robert Horry even is if he didn't win all those championships with the Spurs and the Lakers and hitting all those big shots in Houston. Rings define you. Patrick Ewing was a great player. He's not mentioned among some of the greatest ever big men in NBA history. He was a better player than Walt Clyde Frazier in New York Knicks history, but Frazier has won 2 championships. That's just how it works, man. That's how it works. And so Steph recognized that, invited KD along, and KD chose Kyrie. It's his decision. Whatever makes him happy, I'm all for it. But so far, that Kyrie Irving experiment hasn't exactly worked yet. Because he can't rely on him physically. He gets hurt a lot. And mentally, you ain't got any clue where Kyrie Irving is at in his flat earth, in his flat world, in his head. You have no idea. So this is, man. All right. Last topic of the day. Asante Samuel. This is an interesting one. So Asante Samuel was a former corner with the New England Patriots. Actually played for the Indianapolis Colts as well. Excuse me, he didn't play for the Colts. He played for the Eagles and played for the Falcons. Well, Asante, he took a shot at his old coach, Bill Belichick. Now, as far as Asante, I don't have an issue with what he said. The only problem I had is why he said it. So, Louis Riddick, who's an excellent broadcaster at ESPN, was a huge addition to the booth for Monday Night Football broadcast as a football savant. He tweeted, quote, "Bill does what Bill does. Right or wrong, the man is cold-blooded and will do what he thinks he has to do, period." And Asante Samuel responded, retweeted it and said, "Cold-blooded is an understatement. But without Brady, he's just another coach, in my opinion." People are like, "Oh my God, you're crazy. He's just another coach." He's right. He is, in fact, correct about Bill Belichick. He is just another head coach. Because, listen, we judge coaches off of what they did as a head coach, not as a coordinator. You know, Jason Garrett was not a good head coach. He's an excellent offensive coordinator. Excellent. He was good in Dallas. He's pretty good in New York with the Giants. What is Bill Belichick without Tom Brady, you ask? Bill Belichick was hired by the Cleveland Browns in 1991. Okay. He was in Cleveland for 5 years. He made the playoffs once. And in 3 of those years, matter of fact, 4 of the last 5, he had a losing record. Bill Belichick's record without Tom Brady in Cleveland. This is pre-New England Patriots. 6-10, 7-9, 7-9, 11-5, and made the playoffs. 5-11, fired. First year with the New England Patriots, Tom Brady was the backup at the time to Drew Bledsoe. Drew Bledsoe, man, he could play. He was a very good quarterback. He actually got the Patriots to a Super Bowl in the 1990s where they lost to Brett Favre and the Packers. Like, Drew Bledsoe was a dude. And went 5-11. Okay. And then he went to the playoffs year in and year out and year in and year out with Tom Brady. Matter of fact, had an undefeated season up until they, of course, got upset by the Giants in the Super Bowl. But the following year, Tom Brady tears his ACL game 1 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Patriots missed the playoffs. Same team from the year before, the same undefeated team as the year before. They missed the playoffs without Tom Brady. And Tom Brady leaves New England. Belichick's first year without Brady with the Patriots. He's got Cam Newton. Cam Newton can play. Talked about earlier in the show. Cam Newton didn't get cut because he didn't play. It's because he didn't, or because he can't play. It's because he didn't get vaccinated. But Cam Newton can play. He had Cam. 7-9. 7-9. To add on to that, I'm going to go to a quote that Danny Amendola had, a former receiver with the Patriots, played with Tom Brady, caught a lot of big passes, a lot of big touchdowns from Tom Brady. He said in the week leading up to the Super Bowl this year, they were asking about Tom Brady and what about the Patriot way and how has it been so successful in Tampa Bay? And Danny Amendola said, y'all got it twisted. Tom Brady is the Patriot way. He is the Patriot way. And he's absolutely right, because think about this. He goes to Tampa Bay. They go into their bye week and they're 7-5. And there's frustrations with Brady and his receivers. Not a ton of chemistry. The offense isn't exactly what Brady would want it to be. They're 7-5. They go into the bye week. The very next week, the Patriots come out. The Buccaneers come out. Looks just like the New England Patriots. It looks like Tom Brady with the New England Patriots. Efficient, Dump off passes, throw the ball deep occasionally. That was the quote-unquote Patriot way, at least offensively. Right? Tom Brady was playing the way Tom Brady wanted to play. Not the case in New England. While they were sitting home after a 7-9 season, Tom Brady finished the regular season by winning 4 straight. As we all know, won 4 straight in the postseason. It was once again, for the 7th time in his career, holding that Lombardi trophy. Tom Brady was the Patriot way. John says too soon. Have to see in 5 years. I've got 7 years. In his head coaching career, actually 8 years. In his head coaching career, without Tom Brady as the starter, in those 8 seasons, Belichick has made the playoffs once. 5 years in Cleveland, obviously Tom Brady was not close to being in the league yet. 1 playoff appearance in 5 years. His first season in New England, when Brady was the backup, 5-11. 2008, Brady gets hurt the first game of the year. They go 11-5, but they miss the playoffs. And then in 2020, no Brady again, and again they miss the playoffs. So that's kind of what I look at. Not to take any away from Belichick as a defensive mind. I've said in this show, in my view, I think Belichick's probably the greatest defensive coach of all time. Look at what he did in the 1980s with those New York Giants defenses. Obviously, he had LT Lawrence Taylor, the greatest defensive player of all time. But Belichick had a lot to do with the Giants' success defensively with those Bill Parcells teams back in the 80s. Excellent defensive coordinator. Matter of fact, 2 of the Super Bowls the Patriots have won, I think Belichick deserved, if not equal, more credit than Tom Brady for those wins. Because that first Super Bowl, Brady and Belichick were together, and they played, of course, the St. Louis Rams, the greatest show on turf. Kurt Warner, who won the MVP. Had guys like Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt and Marshall Faulk. A team was absolutely stacked. Tom Brady had the game-winning drive. Yes. Belichick held the greatest show on turf to 17 points. That's incredible. And then the last Super Bowl Brady and Belichick won together, again, it was against the Rams, this time the Los Angeles Rams. And Tom Brady held what was a record-breaking Rams offense to 3 points. Like, I thought that Super Bowl, Belichick deserved more credit than Brady because Brady only scored 13. But Belichick only gave up 3, so it didn't matter. But the rest of the Super Bowls, that was Tommy, man. That was the GOAT doing GOAT things. So I'm not trying to say Belichick is not a great defensive-minded coach. But a head coach, what has he done without Tom Brady in 8 years? Without him. 5 in Cleveland in the 1990s, and then 3 whenever Tom Brady was either the backup, hurt, or gone in New England. By the way, he's not a very good drafter either. I mean, look at the last few drafts of the Patriots. It hasn't been beautiful. I mean, N'Keal Harry in 2019, that dude's done nothing. You know? So that's what I'm saying. Tom Brady was the Patriot way. You see the Bucs very similarly operating like the Patriots. That wasn't the Bucs doing, as we all know. That was Tom Brady. And the Patriots are good. Certainly not a bad football team, but they're not a great football team either. They're middle of the pack. Receiving talent is, without a question, still below average. Offensive line is really good. Running game's good. That's going to win them a lot of games. Defense is good. But in that AFC with all those quarterbacks, Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen and Justin Herbert, and guys like that, it's going to be real hard to make the playoffs or even come close to winning a championship. John says Bucs have way more talent than the Pats. On paper, yeah, but that same Bucs team the year prior went 7-9 with Tom Brady, and until Tom got there, they hadn't won a playoff game since 2006, if I'm not mistaken. It had been a few years since the Bucs had done anything in the postseason. So, while we talked about guys like Julian Edelman and Danny Amendola, Danny didn't do a ton. Danny really did not do a lot when he was in St. Louis and then when he left New England for Miami and then Detroit. Julian Edelman, I've said in the show, excellent. Not a Hall of Famer, though. We're talking about a 7th-round pick who was a quarterback coming out of Kent State. Tom Brady turned him into one of the greatest slot receivers of all time. What did Wes Welker do when he didn't have an all-time great quarterback? He had one, Peyton Manning in Denver. Deion Branch was the MVP of one of the Patriots Super Bowl wins. Who's Deion Branch? You know what I'm saying? So he made a lot of guys. He made a lot of guys great. And a lot of dudes left the New England Patriots and they weren't the same. On both ends, by the way. He says, Patriots was 7-9 last year. Yes, they were. Tom Brady isn't walking in anytime soon. He's not. So that's kind of where I'm looking at the Patriots right now is they're a functional organization without a question. Belichick is not a bad coach. I'm not trying to imply that by any means, but as Asante Samuel said, just another coach. He's done virtually nothing without Tom Brady in his head coaching career. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. John says, Brady definitely the X factor. He is, like you said, I would emphasize the X factor, the GOAT. So with that is all the time we have for tonight's show. We appreciate all those in the comments stopping by. Shout out to my man, John, Fan Perspective Podcast. Be sure to check out his show. Loaded one today. Predicted a schedule I didn't want to predict. Got through it. Talked about Ben Simmons, Cam Newton. Talked about Belichick and talked about the Kyrie Irving, Steph Curry comparison, which is ridiculous. So I'm sure tomorrow we'll have a great show as well. We are a week away, ladies and gentlemen. 1 week from tonight, the NFL's back. I can taste it. I can smell it. Football is here. We got some college football games tonight. Ohio State plays. A lot of good sports action coming on tonight. So hope everybody has a great evening. Catch Carving Up tomorrow, as always, at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitter. If you're listening to the Carving Up podcast, we appreciate that. You'll be listening on Facebook Live, on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Anchor, as well as wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you're on YouTube, be sure to hit that big red subscribe button. Like, comment, share, helps the page grow. And turn that notification bell on as well to get notified anytime we go live or anytime we upload a video. So see y'all tomorrow. God bless. Stay safe. Peace out.